Hello, welcome back to the NASA Broom Cupboard, where we watch all. And I was thinking to myself the other day, who's the most ridiculous person in UK politics? And then I remembered Nadine Dorries had resigned. So there was really only one candidate left. And here he is, Mr. 30p himself, Lee Anderson. Why is he so ridiculous? Let me explain. So, Lee Anderson is from Ashfield in Nottinghamshire, and he was a former Labour councillor before he defected in 2018 to the Conservatives. And then in the 2019 general election, he stood as the Conservative candidate in his hometown, which he won. Now, for his first few years in Parliament, he was your typical Conservative MP, anti-EU, anti-immigration, doesn't believe in poverty. But it was in 2022 that he managed to seal his legacy.
To everybody on that side of the house, come to Ashfield and work with me for a day in my food bank and see that the brilliant scheme we've got in place, where when people come now for a food parcel, they have to register for a budgeting course and a cooking course. And what we do at the food bank, we show them how to cook cheap and nutritious meals on a budget. We can make a meal for about 30 pence a day, and this is cooking from scratch.
So that's the genesis of the 30p Lee nickname. Now you may have heard it and said, I don't get it, what's the problem? Well, firstly, the existence of food banks in the UK is never something to be boasted about. And secondly, Lee has missed the point. In order to budget your money, you have to have that money to start with. And unfortunately, too many people in the UK are having to make the choice between heating or eating. And thirdly, this kind of utilitarian food budgeting, that's not really what the party of aspirations, as the Conservatives like to call themselves, should be about anyway. But Lee was determined to double down on this, and he put up this post of one of his staffers, which he thought proved his point that you don't need to use food banks. However, as it turned out, it wasn't quite how he was making it out, and the staff member in question actually came from an already quite wealthy family. However, Lee still wasn't quite done humiliating himself on this subject.
To go, and I had one particular family I was helping, really helping, and they were going to the food bank 2 or 3 times a week to get the groceries, and then I see them in McDonald's 2 or 3 times a week, and I'm thinking, my goodness, I mean, I don't want to stop the little children going for a treat once in a while, but it's all about priorities.
There's only 2 ways you could know that, Lee. Number 1, you're spying on one of your constituents, which is weird. Or 2, you're spending a lot of time in McDonald's yourself, Lee. So, anyway, moving on, it's Steve Bray. So this is a bit odd. Steve Bray is a pro-EU activist who you will often see hanging around outside Parliament with his megaphone. And I appreciate he can be a bit of an annoyance, but Lee Anderson seems to take it more personally than most.
Happy New Year!
But you've not got a new job yet, have you? Same old job. You're still a parasite, you're still a scrounger, and you're still a malignant.
Nice
People to say the same environment, isn't it?
Get off! Get off!
Get off!
They were supposed to be having a boxing match at one point, but it doesn't look like anything's ever come of that. Although it should be said, there is a rumour that actually they're a bit friendlier than they let on, and they both just act up when the cameras are around. But moving on, it was perhaps inevitable that someone like Lee Anderson would end up on GBB's. So, GBB's is a news channel for the clinically hard of thinking. People who find the plot lines in the Beano a little hard to follow. So Lee Anderson has a show on GBB's that he calls The Real World, which I can only assume was an ironic title. And amazingly, it only has production values that are barely better than my own. Yeah, I know. It's that bad. But just for kicks, here's 30p Lee getting destroyed by the Metropolitan Police Commissioner Mark Rowley.
We've seen protesters on Whitehall around Parliament Square, probably as you was coming into the building. Don't you think it's time that you left the Ivory Tower and got out there on Whitehall and sorted these people out? Because, you know, people of London, the tourists, the people that work at this place, and, you know, the taxi drivers, the bus drivers, they're getting fed up of it, and you're just letting it happen. You've got the powers now to do this.
So there's current bill bouncing around Parliament which hasn't come in yet, so those powers aren't in existence yet.
It's not strictly true, is it? You can move these people on. They're obstructing the highway.
So we could have a long conversation about public order law.
No, but why are you not moving them on?
Well, because you're
I don't want a long conversation.
you're making selective comments based on a partial understanding of the law.
And that is just about as atypical a thing as you would get from 30p Lee. And that he is currently the deputy chairman of the Conservative Party is not an indicator of any greatness on his part, but more the sorry state of the current Conservative Party. Because we have only just tipped the iceberg on this. There is loads more dumb that he has done. So, anyway, Lee, you got any final words?
Now, I got into hot water about 5 or 6 years ago.
Well, you should be bathing a bit more regularly than that, Lee. So, anyway, if you have enjoyed this video, please feel free to like and subscribe, and help an angel get its wings by hitting the notification bell. Until next time, Star Wipe, and I'm out.